In this video, you will learn about the JSF application lifecycle. There are 6 distinct phases of the JSF lifecycle. The first phase is the restore view phase. This phase is used to create the initial tree of the JSF components in memory. The next phase is the apply request values phase, which is used to update the user interface components and convert the data types as needed. The third phase is the process validation phase, which applies JSF and bean validation. The fourth phase is the update model values phase, which copies the user interface component data to the managed bean. This is done through expression language. The fifth phase is the invoke application phase. This phase is used to execute action methods on the managed bean. And then the final phase is the render response phase. This phase is used to read data from the backing bean with expression language code and generate and send output back to the page itself. The phases can be executed in order, or some of them can be skipped. When you add user interface components to a page, it creates a user interface component tree. The user interface component tree is built using the structure contained within the facelet pages. Although an HTTP request triggers the creation of a user interface component tree, the tree itself will outlive the initial request and response. JSF will use a render kit to convert the user interface component tree to a suitable output format, such as an HTTP response containing an XHTML body. The user interface component tree is stored in faces context. Subsequent request from a client will reuse the user interface component tree. To see what components have been created for you, add the UI:debug tag to your JSF page. Then press and release the Ctrl-Shift-D keystroke when viewing the page to see information about the component tree and additional information to go with those components. When a JSF request is received from an existing user interface component tree, it is known as postback. An example of when postback occurs is if you fill in a form and then hit the submit button. That sends a post request back to the server, but is considered a postback and not an initial request. When postback occurs, it can do a number of different things. First, it restores the view instead of creating the view. Next, it potentially processes all lifecycle phases. And then finally, is typically caused by form submission. During the apply